Your honesty is not a virtue, but a voluntary leash held by every passing non-entity. In a world of predators, predictability is a death sentence that you sign for yourself by putting your plans on public display. Machiavelli explicitly stated that he who plays with open cards has already lost the game because he hands the right of the first move to the enemy. Either you turn your life into an impenetrable smokescreen where every step is a trap for fools, or you remain a spineless extra whose fate is written in someone else's plans. Your invisibility is your only salvation, and your openness is an invitation to your own slaughter. Stop being a convenient book that anyone can flip through and throw in the trash. Become a ghost whose strike is delivered from the void. You feel that sinking sensation deep in your stomach every time you realize your words have outpaced your actions. This is not just anxiety, it is the physical realization that you have just exposed your neck to a blow. You sense your palms becoming damp when in a conversation you suddenly blurt out your next goal, hoping to see approval in the eyes of your listener. But instead of triumph, you see cold calculation in their pupils, or even worse, condescending pity. Your heart begins to beat in a ragged, convulsive rhythm because your instinct for self-preservation is screaming that you have made a fatal mistake. You feel naked in the freezing cold, stripped of your mental armor, which you yourself tore off for a drop of social dopamine. Every word that falls from your lips without a real result drains your life force, leaving only a sticky fear of inadequacy inside. You physically feel how your energy intended for a breakthrough is dissipated into space, turning into cheap noise. This pain penetrates your bones, turning into a heavy, leaden fatigue. You feel your shoulders pressed to the ground by the weight of expectations that you yourself have created around you. Every promise you make, every announced project turns into an invisible chain that restricts your maneuver. You feel the space around you narrowing to the size of a cramped cage where every bar is the opinion of a person you are foolish enough to trust. Your breathing becomes shallow and frequent, as if you lack air in this atmosphere of total transparency. You feel physical nausea from your own reflection in the mirror because you see a person who does not belong to himself, but is the property of a crowd of advisors and critics. Your joints ache from tension as you try to save face before those to whom you rashly promised mountains of gold, realizing that now you are their hostage. Remember that feeling of burning shame that washes over you when your plan fails in front of everyone you told about it. You feel their gazes piercing you like poisoned arrows, and every bit of their fake sympathy is a blow to the gut. You feel your skin burning from this invisible disgrace, and you want to sink through the floor just to avoid seeing the triumph in their eyes. This is the pain of betraying yourself. You feel your inner strength leaking through these information holes, leaving you empty and squeezed like a lemon. Your muscles cramp from constant tension because you are now obligated to match the image you so recklessly painted with words. You are locked in the prison of your own predictability, and you gave the keys to this prison to every passerby who now enjoys your helplessness through the bars of your talkativeness. Feel this cold in your chest when you realize that your ideas no longer belong to you. You see how others use them, how they distort or ridicule them even before they have had time to take shape. This is a feeling of mental rape when you allowed foreign dirty hands to dig into the most sacred center of your design. Your temples pulse with tension, and you feel your head turning into a red-hot cauldron full of unspoken rage and powerless despair. You feel like a beast in a circus arena whose movements are known in advance to the trainer, and you hate yourself for teaching them these commands yourself. Your will is paralyzed by this fear of not matching this fear of being misunderstood, and this paralysis costs you your empire. You feel your nerve endings literally melting from the need to constantly scan those around you to see if they still believe you or have already started laughing quietly behind your back. Your pain is the price of your thirst for recognition. You feel this thirst drying out your soul, turning your imagination into a barren desert. Every boastful statement about future success is a nail in the coffin of that very success. You sense your masculine energy dissipating into the void, turning into meaningless noise, while it should have been forged in silence and secrecy. Feel this unbearable weight in your spine as if you are dragging a whole mountain of someone else's ignorance and envy. You feel your life turning into an endless report to people who do not matter, and this realization eats you from the inside, leaving behind only ash and bitterness. Your sleep becomes intermittent because even at night, your brain continues to build explanatory speeches before the imaginary court of those to whom you opened your plans. Sense how your body reacts to your every post on social media or every boast in a company of friends. This is not joy, it is a spasm. Your stomach tightens, reminding you that you have just betrayed the mystery of creation. You feel your voice becoming thinner and less confident because subconsciously you understand that your words are not supported by the foundation of reality. This is the physical sensation of emptiness under your feet when you stand on the thin ice of your promises. You feel your limbs going numb from the realization that you have become an object of observation, a guinea pig in the laboratory of someone else's curiosity. You have nowhere left to hide because you yourself illuminated all the dark corners of your strategy with the bright light of your vanity. Your skin seems too thin, sensitive to every breath of someone else's skepticism. You feel their questions about how your business is progressing, piercing you like rusty hooks. You are forced to smile and lie, creating even more layers of falsehood to hide the fact that the energy for implementation was spent on talking about it. This is a feeling of internal rot when your ambitions turn into a foul-smelling liquid from an excess of sunlight and foreign eyes. You feel your charisma, which should have been your sword, turning into a blunt and rusty blade unable to pierce even thin paper. This is the pain of the slow fading of your authority, which you yourself devalued with your talkativeness. Feel how your mind becomes sticky from foreign advice you did not ask for, but are now forced to listen to, since you opened the doors of your inner temple. You feel their voices sounding inside your head, louder than your own, drowning out your intuition and your will. This is a sensation of losing self-control when you realize that your trajectory is now being adjusted by someone else's fears and prejudices. You feel your hands drop, deprived of the strength to create something truly great, because greatness requires silence, and you have turned your life into a noisy marketplace. Your eyes water from constant tension, from the need to peer into the fog of other people's reactions, trying to guess when you will be attacked. Your pain is the cry of your trampled pride. You feel your ego, which you tried to feed with foreign attention, now devouring you yourself. You feel like an empty shell, a decoration behind which there is nothing but the fear of exposure. This is the physical sensation of falling into an abyss where there is no support and no end. You feel your life juices turning into poison that infects your future before it has even arrived. Feel this limit, this point of absolute exhaustion, where you stand on your knees before the altar of someone else's opinion, sacrificing your most sacred dreams. Feel this cold, this emptiness, and this rage at yourself, which must either burn you to ashes or force you to close your mouth forever and go into the saving shadow of invisibility. Your pain is your last chance to realize that in the world of power, deeds speak, and words are just noise in which losers drown. Your biological error lies in the fact that you confuse sincerity with safety. You grew up in a world that instills in you that openness is a sign of honesty, but Machiavelli knew the truth. Openness is a sign of a victim. When you release words about your intentions into space, you create an emotional debt that your psyche is unable to pay without losing the quality of the action itself. Your body begins to relax, having received a surrogate of success in the form of nods and praises from those around you, while the real battle has not even begun. You feel this sweet poison of recognition which paralyzes your will to fight. This is mental diabetes. You have overfed your ego with the empty calories of someone else's attention, and now you have no strength for a real breakthrough. Your invisibility must become your fast, your purification from this addiction. The psychological mechanism of failure when announcing plans is linked to the destruction of the integrity of your internal image. Every foreign opinion expressed in response to your plan becomes a virus that penetrates your program code. you begin to unconsciously adjust your course to meet expectations or avoid the criticism of those who have no right to a voice in your life at all. Your project ceases to be yours. It becomes a product of the collective creativity of a crowd of mediocrities. Schopenhauer called this the loss of intellectual sovereignty. You allow the dirty feet of foreign prejudices to trample in the sanctuary of your design. Feel how this physically weakens you, turning your steel confidence into a loose mass of doubts. The Machiavellian strategy of invisibility is not just silence, it is the active creation of false trails. You must learn to feed those around you with information garbage so that they build their calculations on sand. While they analyze your false activity, you execute your true maneuver in absolute silence. This is the art of managing foreign attention, which turns you from an object of observation into a puppet master. Your invisibility is your shield behind which you can be anyone and do anything. Without this shield, you are just a target whose outline is clearly traced against the background of the gray mass. You feel how this outline begins to burn under the aim of someone else's envy, and only moving into the shadows can extinguish this flame. Your desire to be understood is a form of social slavery. You fear that if people do not know your plans, they will consider you strange or dangerous. But it is precisely this fear that makes you strong. He who cannot be read inspires a primal awe. Remember the words of Machiavelli that it is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. Your unpredictability is the source of this fear. When you act from the void, you seem like a force of nature that cannot be stopped by logical arguments. You go beyond the bounds of human understanding and become a myth. This state requires iron discipline. You must suppress the itch to boast of success, even when it is already close. A true predator does not roar before the strike. He becomes part of the shadow. Your silence creates a vacuum that forces your opponents to make mistakes. People cannot endure uncertainty. They begin to fill the void with their own fears and projections. They begin to see a threat where there is none and waste their resources on defense against ghosts. During this time, you, hidden by your invisibility, can calmly study their weak points. This is a state of information superiority, where you see everyone and no one sees you. Schopenhauer wrote that true wisdom lies in the ability to hide your trump cards until the very end of the game. Every revealed card reduces your chances for a total win. You should feel physical pleasure from the fact that no one around has the slightest idea what you will do in the next minute. Strategic invisibility is also a powerful tool for preserving your inner identity. In a world where everyone is obliged to have a public profile and put their life on display, your absence from this digital and social noise becomes an act of protest and a sign of aristocracy of spirit. You preserve your secret, and therefore you preserve your power. A secret is what connects you with yourself. It is an intimate connection with your destiny. When you squander your secrets, you break this connection and become superficial like a reflection in a puddle. Your silence is a way of accumulating psychic tension, which at the right moment will explode with a crushing result. Feel how this energy compresses within you, turning into a super-dense core, ready for collapse and the birth of a new star. Your silence is also a way of testing reality without interference. When you do not announce your actions, you receive pure feedback from the world. Your success or failure becomes only your experience, undistorted by foreign comments like "I told you so" or "it was obvious." You learn to trust your feelings and your intuition, which are the only reliable tools of a sovereign. Machiavelli advised always relying on one's own prowess rather than on fortune or the opinion of the crowd. Your invisibility allows you to hone this prowess in the silence of the training hall of your soul before stepping onto the arena of history. This is the path of the shadow warrior, who knows that the true battle is won in the mind even before the first drawing of the sword. Remember that every word you speak about the future is a contract you sign with society. You take on an obligation that can become an unbearable burden if circumstances change. But if you remain silent, you remain free. You can change your plans, adjust goals, and even completely abandon them without losing face or authority. Your invisibility gives you the right to maneuver, the right to make a mistake, and the right to a sudden change of course. This is the true freedom of a sovereign, not to depend on one's own words spoken yesterday. Schopenhauer argued that only in solitude and silence can a person be fully himself. Your strategic secrecy is a way to carry this solitude and this silence within you, even while in the center of a crowd. Your invisibility is your highest form of self-respect. You value your ideas too highly to throw them under the feet of those who are incapable of understanding them. You keep your plans like a treasure to which only you have access. This creates around you an aura of exclusivity and dignity that cannot be imitated. People will feel your density, your internal fullness, and will instinctively be drawn to you trying to unravel your secret. But you will remain impenetrable because you know as soon as the secret is revealed, the magic vanishes. Your strength is in your silence. Your victory is in your invisibility. You do not just hide your next move. You create a reality in which this move becomes the only possible and inevitable finale of which the world learns only when nothing can be changed. For your invisibility not to turn into ordinary withdrawal, you must master the art of active shadow management. Strategic secrecy is not passive silence, but the delicate work of creating false meanings that will force your enemies to hunt for ghosts while you tighten the noose around their necks. Machiavelli taught that a prince must be a master of pretense, and Schopenhauer added that a wise man keeps his thoughts as a treasure to which he alone has access. We will analyze 7 mechanics that will turn your life into an impenetrable labyrinth for anyone who tries to calculate your next move. The first mechanic is the creation of excessive information noise. In an era of total surveillance, the best disguise is not the absence of information, but its surplus. You must become a generator of meaningless details. Share your dinner plans with those around you. Discuss the weather, complain about minor everyday troubles, or talk about books you are supposedly reading. Machiavelli emphasized that the crowd is always satisfied with appearances. When you feed them this mental fast food, they develop a total illusion of control over your life. They think they know everything about you, while your true vector of movement or power remains in absolute shadow. You hide the diamond of your strategy in a pile of broken glass, and no one will dig through this trash believing they already see right through you. The second mechanic lies in demonstrating a false direction of attack. This is the art of the diversionary maneuver used by the greatest commanders in history. You must publicly show a passionate interest in goals that do not actually concern you. Ask deep questions about niches you do not intend to enter. Make connections with people you do not need for business, and pretend you are preparing a massive launch where there is actually silence. Your competitors, blinded by their own greed and fear, will begin feverishly pulling resources to defend this false sector of the front. According to Schopenhauer, this is the supreme victory of the intellect. You force the enemy to fight a shadow, exhausting his strength, while you prepare a crushing blow to his completely exposed rear. The third mechanic is the method of total fragmentation. Never let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. Even your most trusted associates must possess only a narrow fragment of the puzzle. You are the sole architect in whose head the complete blueprint of the building is stored. Machiavelli warned that loyalty is a temporary category, and any information leak about the final design can be fatal. If your assistant only knows how to drive a nail, he cannot steal your project for a palace. Your silence here acts as a guarantee that no one can seize the initiative or strike you in the back, since no one but you understands where these scattered actions lead. You connect the chain into a single whole only at the moment when the current is already running and resistance is futile. The fourth mechanic is controlled unpredictability. You must periodically perform actions that completely deviate from your usual logic and established image. These can be strange hobbies, sharp changes of mood on non-essential issues, or spontaneous trips with no visible purpose. This destroys the algorithms by which manipulators and analysts try to calculate you. Robert Greene rightly noted that predictability is voluntary slavery. When people stop understanding the patterns of your actions, they fall into a state of cognitive dissonance. Their fear of the unknown paralyzes their will, and they prefer to keep their distance from you, fearing to provoke a force whose nature they cannot comprehend. You become an anomaly standing above the rules and laws of their gray world. The fifth mechanic is the aesthetics of strategic absence. You must master the art of vanishing from the information field precisely at the moments when the most activity is expected of you. Your pauses in communication must be frighteningly long. This creates a vacuum around your persona that attracts attention but provides no food for gossip or analysis. Machiavelli advised rulers to dose their presence so that it would be perceived as a rare gift. In this silence, you gain the opportunity to impartially observe how those around you behave when they think you are not watching. Your sudden return must always be accompanied by the presentation of a concrete, indisputable result, making any questions about your absence meaningless and inappropriate. The sixth mechanic is the use of shadows and intermediaries. Your name must never surface during the preparatory stages or in dirty processes. You must act through third parties whose connection to you is unobvious or reliably hidden. Your will must direct events like an invisible puppeteer while remaining above suspicion. Schopenhauer argued that true power is that which manifests only through consequences, remaining anonymous in the process of action. You build complex chains of interaction so that any investigations reach a dead end, hitting front men. This allows you to maintain an impeccable reputation and deliver strikes while remaining for your enemies only an evil fate or an accident, but never a specific opponent. The seventh mechanic is the cult of silent superiority. Train yourself to answer questions about your affairs and successes as vaguely and significantly as possible. Use complex metaphors or short-clipped phrases that leave vast room for interpretation. This creates a persistent feeling among others that you possess some esoteric knowledge or have access to resources they can only dream of. Your secrecy must look not like weakness or an attempt to hide, but like the conscious distance of a person standing one hierarchical step higher. In a world where everyone strives to turn their soul inside out, your silence will be perceived as a sign of colossal internal power and unwavering confidence in your triumph. You do not just hide your move, you make the whole world guess in which universe you will make it. Your final immersion into strategic invisibility is not just a change of tactics, it is the complete annihilation of your former social personality, which so desperately needed foreign eyes to feel alive. You are no longer an actor on stage seeking applause. You are a director sitting in a dark hall whose presence is betrayed only by the subtle movement of shadows. Machiavelli knew that true power does not need demonstration, it needs execution. Every word you have held inside turns into mental leads strengthening your foundation. You feel your internal architecture becoming monolithic, devoid of the cracks through which your will used to leak. This state of absolute information, hermeticism, makes you invulnerable to any kind of psychological sabotage because it is impossible to attack what you cannot see and impossible to manipulate one whose motives are hidden behind the seven seals of your silence. Schopenhauer argued that a person can only be himself in the total solitude of his consciousness, and your secrecy is a way to extend this solitude to all your social activity. You create an exclusion zone around yourself in which any attempt at external control suffocates. Your silence is not emptiness. It is the density of a radiation shield that burns anyone who tries to get too close to your true design. You feel how in this silence your senses sharpen, how you begin to notice the smallest details in the behavior of others that previously escaped you, in the noise of your own chatter. You have become an observer, an apex predator who sees the thermal trace of foreign intentions while remaining cold and transparent as rock crystal. Your invisibility is your primary tool for knowing the world, allowing you to see the true essence of things unclouded by your own ego. Feel how the fuss disappears from your life. When you stop announcing your steps, you no longer need to waste time on endless explanations of why you are doing exactly this and how you plan to achieve success. You release colossal cognitive resources that were previously spent on maintaining your public image. Now all this power is directed to a single point, to the realization of your dominance. You have become like a deep-sea submarine moving in the abyss under enormous pressure, invisible to radars on the surface, but carrying a charge capable of changing the map of the world. Your absence from the information noise is your loudest cry about your strength. The Machiavellian prince within you has finally taken his throne, and this throne is in the very center of your silent superiority. Your dominance is built on total distrust of any forms of external assessment. It is no longer important to you whether those who do not see even 1% of your real game consider you a genius or a failure. You have gained the freedom to be misunderstood, and this is the most valuable freedom a person of will can have. When you act from the shadows, you deprive the world of the opportunity to label you and thereby limit your potential. You become fluid, changeable, and eternally elusive. You can change masks, mislead retreat, and attack, and no one can accuse you of inconsistency because no one knows your true code. Your invisibility is your infinite maneuver, your eternal youth in a world that grows old and dies under the weight of its own words and obligations. Remember how often you became a hostage of your own promises, how you suffered trying to fulfill what you once recklessly blurted out in a company of friends or colleagues. Now that is over forever. Your silence gives you the right to a sudden change of course without explaining the reasons. You owe the world nothing but your final result, which will speak for itself. Your invisibility is your insurance policy against shame and defeat. If your plan requires adjustment or complete cancellation, no one will know about it and your authority will remain unshakable. You have become the master of time because time in silence flows differently. It works for you and not against you. You no longer race against other people's expectations. You yourself determine the moment of your emergence into the light. Your silence is also a way of cultivating your internal aristocracy. Only a person with a plebeian soul strives to flaunt their achievements and plans, seeking confirmation of their significance in the eyes of the same non-entities. A true aristocrat of the spirit is self-sufficient in their silence. It is enough for you that you yourself know your strength and see how reality bends under your invisible pressure. This feeling of internal triumph is much sweeter than any cries of the crowd. You feel your spine straightening under the weight of your secret, making your gait confident and your gaze impenetrable. People will feel this density. They will instinctively give way to you, not understanding where this heavy, leaden confidence in you comes from. They see only the tip of the iceberg, while the main mass of your power is hidden underwater. Your path into invisibility is a path to total responsibility. When you are silent, you remain one-on-one with your design, and you have no one to blame for a possible failure. This tempers your character, turning it into hardened steel. You learn to trust only yourself, your intuition, and your cold calculation. Schopenhauer wrote that the will is the only reality, and your will is now purified from the impurities of other people's opinions and advice. You have become a pure embodiment of action. Your silence is your prayer at the altar of efficiency. You no longer waste time on prayers to the gods of chance. You yourself have become the god of chance for everyone else, because your actions from invisibility seem to them a manifestation of a higher, incomprehensible will. Imagine a chess game where your opponent sees only his own pieces, while yours are hidden by a shroud of fog. He makes moves at random, trying to guess your position while you see the whole board and are already raising your hand for a checkmate. This is your life in the mode of strategic invisibility. You're always in a position of superiority, because information is the only currency that matters in the struggle for power. You have become the richest person in this world because you have accumulated an ocean of information about others without giving away a drop about yourself. Your invisibility is your ultimate investment in your future dominance. You feel this investment beginning to bear its first fruits in the form of fear and confusion in your enemies. Now you are ready for the final step. You have realized that invisibility is not absence, but a presence of a different order. You have become part of those forces that rotate this world while remaining behind the scenes of history. Your triumph will not be accompanied by fanfares. It will be accompanied by the quiet rustle of falling obstacles and the muffled groans of those who crossed your path without noticing your shadow. You have finished your transformation. Your silence is your eternal crown. Go into the world and rule, remaining for everyone a riddle that cannot be solved and a force that cannot be stopped. Your time will not come. It is already here, in this silence that you carry within you is the most formidable weapon. Welcome to the Order of Invisible Sovereigns. Your victory is your secret, and this secret makes you eternal.